started my, I suppose, public speaking career probably something like 20 years ago. And the first time I was actually asked to do a bit of a welcome and do some public speaking was for Friends of the Earth at the Athenaeum Theatre in Melbourne. And I walked there and I had a few notes and what am I talking about? Because these guys had a whole evening of Save the Rainforest, you know, these great old growth rainforests down in Gippsland. And while we're standing there, waiting to go on, sort of a little bit like that, I didn't even have a clue what I was going to talk about. All I was doing was ask to talk. And while I was standing there, they actually had a slideshow on of the old growth eucalypt forest down in Gippsland. Then I had the great big mindset. I said, hey, look, these things are cathedrals. They're not European cathedrals, but they're cathedrals where the spirit people live. You know, and then so I started talking about the how the great stands of the great forest were Indigenous people's cathedrals, where the spirit people live. And then I thought, well, hang on. And then, of course, a little while later, a couple of years later, I got involved with Ceres and the Merri Creek Management Committee, changing all the things along the creek. And I'm like, hang on. No, it's going to help a bit, but it's never going to change. Because then I drew these analogies and I said, well, what's going to happen is if we cut all those old growth forests down and then we start planting new trees there, it's not going to be the same. Never be the same. It's the same. I'm drawing analogies that, okay, we knocked down St Paul's Cathedral and what do we put there? A little church with a plaque. St Paul's Cathedral used to be here. You could walk into that church, but you wouldn't feel that sense of awe. Like, you know, I've been in Christchurch Cathedral in Dublin, and walking into that place and just standing, you just stand with a sense of awe. You don't have to be a Christian to walk into a cathedral and feel some sense of awe. If you walk into a cathedral that old, or even St Paul's Cathedral, if you walk into a cathedral and you don't feel anything, you're not human. You're not human. And that's the sense that I sort of felt about these slides. And I suppose the same here as an educational tool.
I'll introduce Kelvin Thomson, the federal member for Wills, who is the president of the Moonee Creek Coordination Committee. Thanks, Kelvin.
Thanks, Bronwyn. That was outstanding, Ian. If you weren't called Wombat before, you'd certainly be called Wombat after that performance. I was a somewhat unusual kid. I got interested in Australian birds and plants and animals when I was about 9 or 10, and through that I became interested in conservation issues, and through the conservation issues I became interested in politics and the political process. And I discovered that governments, for better or for worse, make the decisions that influence environmental outcomes. After I got into the state parliament way back in 1988, 1989, I set up the Moonee Creek Association, now known as the Friends of Moonee Creek, because I wanted to restore and do what I could to rejuvenate what I regarded as a Cinderella amongst Melbourne's urban waterways. And Ian talked about you don't want to lose the St Paul's Cathedral, and he's right, but in places like the Moonee Creek, St Paul's Cathedral is pretty much gone, and it's a question of restoring the original vegetation and restoring the habitat and trying to bring it back to something of its former glory. A number of years later, we successfully achieved the establishment of a coordinator, and Heather, who's here this morning, is now our coordinator. And we also have, as Heather's right there, we also have Stephanie and more recently Bronwyn through the CityLink Creek Connections project. And that's been a terrific project, and one of the things that it's been at work on, you can see here this morning, the Tucker Trail. I'm informed that this is the work of St Joseph's College and some of the VCAL students, and I congratulate them on their efforts and their endeavours in telling us about our original vegetation, and its significance, and in particular its food significance and its qualities. I started reading the thing and discovered that the hop goodenia can be, the leaves of it can be formed into a tea which is useful for putting children to sleep. This is something that would have been handy for me to know 15, 20 years ago, but better late than never. And in terms of knowledge of our original vegetation and the original life of this area, it is certainly an idea whose time has come. And we live in times where increasing population and closer settlement put greater pressure on our open spaces and on our indigenous vegetation, plants and animals and the like, and it's important that we understand its value and do everything we can to preserve and protect its value. And secondly, the impact of global warming makes it clear that the idea of having a European set of plants imposed onto an Australian landscape is essentially not a goer. We are not going to have the water supplies to pull off such an idea, and so we do need to return to and understand the value of our original vegetation and to promote it and to understand its various uses. So again, I congratulate the school on its efforts in launching in producing the Tucker Trail today, and I congratulate Bronwyn and the CityLink Creek Connections on your work and your role in this, and wish it all the best for the future.